So hello again. Today we're going to be talking about some very interesting stuff, okay? So there's a lot of questions that atheists and, skeptics like to pose when speaking to Christians. For some reason they think that Christians, majority of them, believe that Christians' IQ levels are lower than the average person because they don't make room for science. Whereas the other, maybe a smaller portion of unbelievers or skeptics or science infatuated people believe that Christians are very balanced and very intellectual individuals. Okay? Some of them that are able to deal more with apologetics, okay, which is not everybody's field. But I will say that, getting into this questioning, which I want to get to real soon, the problem with atheism, skepticism, is that they have an unrealistic expectation when it comes to proving anything, okay? And this is what frustrates me because it's easier. I do not knock science. I love science. And science is pretty much the foundation of today's modern day society. It's a blessing and it's a curse. But it has brought us up to, I would never knock a washing machine, a dryer, electricity, and transportation. These things are very helpful. Heating, air conditioning, hot water. Awesome stuff. But I do have to say that there are also things that science cannot explain. Okay? And to think that a Big Bang Theory trumps the fact that someone put everything into place, there's no comparison. Okay? I think thinking logically, to say that I just throw sugar, spice, and everything nice in a pot and see what happens is gonna look like a concoction. Okay? And it will never become anything else. So to think that if I smash a bunch of rocks together and this Big Bang Theory creates air and water and land and directly positions the world, according to scientists, which is only a theory, by the way. No one has it 100% figured out. But what I'm trying to say here is that every organism is strategically created to have many functions inside of functions inside of functions. For example, a human being's body and what goes on the system inside the human body, both voluntary and involuntary. You can't sit there and think that logically with a Big Bang system, all of these different creations came to be on this earth perfectly just because. So I'm going to be getting into a question real quick, dealing with, that's for a later day, but we're going to be talking about a very specific question that atheists like to ask me a lot. Stay tuned. So one of the biggest questions that I get is, or not really a question, more so a statement, okay? And the statement is something along the lines of, Christianity is a brainwashing that makes you operate a certain way. So there's nothing outside of your brain. There's no other way for you to conduct your life. They think that you're put into a cube. They think it's some type of, I'm going to post the word, and that you don't have your own way of thinking. Okay? And I'm going to explain and debunk why 100% this is inaccurate according to their own logic. So, starting with Exhibit A, I did not grow up in a Christian family. Okay? So that debunks that completely and entirely. You don't have to be brainwashed to be a Christian. Okay? So, I did not grow up in a Christian environment. I grew up in a Catholic environment, but had many atheist qualities also. Okay? So, everything was completely and utterly wired so that the parent would always win. Okay? We didn't go to regular church. We didn't attend anything regularly. I would go because my mother was pressured by my grandfather, which in turn pressured me, and I hated that church. Okay? So there goes your theory out the door that I was brainwashed into believing whatever doctrine. Okay? I've always hated Catholic Church since the beginning. I mean, I'm talking like kindergarten. I hated Catholic Church. First grade, hated it. And going up until my confirmation, which I was maybe 13, I hated it. 11, something like that. I also had very atheist uncle. And pretty much my family, they would curse nuns. They would say heinous things, okay? They're Irish Catholic. They're Irish. My mother's whole side of the family, last name Keogh, that's as Irish as it gets, okay? It's not a joke. So, whoa, what brought me to Christianity? Ciphering through the truth, okay? There is so much out there in the open that is ridiculous, okay? There's so many ideologies, there's so many doctrines, and there's so many half-truths, and there's so many lies. It is just a journey that you're gonna have to take. I could sit here and cipher through all of the material historically, all of the biblical, history, and what actual historians have to say about it. I could go through etymology searches, dealing with astronomy and the study of the stars and cosmology and all these things. All these things line up perfectly biblically. They do not line up perfectly with science. The problem is that science is trying to find something, not the other way around, okay? Science tries to find cures. Science tries to find this and that and the third. Science is to receive answers, okay? That's what science is for. And what frustrates me is that, there are the true scientists that really want to figure out the truth. But then there's those also who don't care about the truth, or they don't want to know reality as it is. They want to create their alternate reality. And that's what you'll see very much with the higher-ups. There are some higher-ups that will even say that they want to build a time machine to go back and kill Jesus before he began his ministry. So, if that's not evil, I just don't know what is. So when you look into previous history and when you look into how people thought and operated back then, a testimony or a witness was everything. This had to do with people's careers, just like it does today. People's reputations, just like it does today. And many other aspects. These people couldn't take care of their families, or they would even be killed for such lies. Especially this very particular person, Jesus Christ, death was written all over him for anyone who sided with Jesus Christ. Okay? So that there is already very interesting. So when you come across these studies, you will see that Jesus Christ very much existed And then here's the problem. Historians will not doubt that Jesus Christ was a person, but they will doubt his divinity. Okay? It's written, Josephus wrote about it. It's written biblically, which is a collectible. The Bible has been collected over the centuries. So when someone asks you, well, who wrote the Bible? Already they are ignorant. They know nothing. Okay, that's flat out. So, when you're dealing with people that don't do their research, that's already frustrating. But when you're dealing with someone who does their research, you really also need to know what you're talking about in regards to that. Let's talk about science real quick. So, one thing that has turned me off of science just in the fact of trying to compare archaeological finds and the database of the archaeological finds off of science versus the Bible when comparing. The problem is that science often changes, okay? And when you'll know that it's a confirmation, you'll see a trickle effect, okay? And I'm talking every type of science. I'm talking about archaeology. I'm talking about medicine. I'm talking about different types of diseases and just anything of that nature, right? Mechanical stuff, everything. What you'll find is recalls for certain technologies because it wasn't correctly designed to be, operated. You'll see recalls on medications because it's killing people, destroying people, etc., causing birth defects. And also, it's very funny, needle companies don't want to be contacted if there's any issues with their medications. You'll also see people arguing over dates of archaeological findings, okay? There's a lot of people bickering back and forth of how old the pyramids truly are. Some people say 3,000 years. Some people even say as far back as 5,000 years. But some of them claim that no longer than 1,200 years ago. You know what I mean? So we really got to really dig deep into what's true here. But the Bible has never changed. As a matter of fact, science is beginning to match what the Bible says as we start to narrow down what is true and false. Now, last but not least, just for this video's sake, I want to get into, their logic in regards to you've been brainwashed. Okay? Now, I'm going to go outside of Christianity in this because there are many ideologies out there that are false. Okay? Many. Many. So, for example, if someone is raped, is someone going to become a rapist because of that? No. It could happen, but that person could despise rape so much that they do not. Okay? And there's many cases of many children occult ritual sacrifices and satanic occult rituals where children tell their testimony and they hate these things. One of the biggest ones was Anton LaVey, his son, okay, who claimed that he was never like his father and he could not accept Satanism, and he hated and despised the things that his father did, and he grew up and he loved Jesus. Okay? You have also people who grew up with parents with certain ideologies. They had not even close to the ideologies that their parents had. As a matter of fact, they had a hardworking, cold father. They'd be a very warm and loving and very present father. Okay? There's some people who grew up with two gay parents, two moms. I know someone like this and many other people. And he's very straight. Okay? So you can't force somebody to be who they want to be. Also, if you look in China or Russia, but you know where I'm getting at with this, you'll see that these people hate these things. When you look in North Korea, these people hate these things. They hate being controlled. It's against human standards. There are those who belong to the Lord, and then there are those that are veiled. There are some that can see and hear, and some that cannot. And the Lord said that we'll sound like fools to them, but in reality, they sound like fools to us. And until they get the truth down pat, then there's just no room for debating these things. I will say that I can appreciate a good debate. It's not my favorite area, but something I was born for. And I would just say, get educated if that's what the Lord is calling you to do. Be loving if that's what the Lord is calling you to do. Give to the needy if that's what the Lord is telling you to do. You know, study and do your prophecy if that's what the Lord is willing you to do. Do your part in the kingdom of the Lord to be close to Him, because time is running short and we don't have time to continue to doubt what is clearly true. God bless.